never stops. New Era TT Radio, Nett Radio.
Yes, we want more money, plenty money, big money, small money. I felt that they wrote that song for me. Anyhow, people, welcome to Every Cent Counts right here on New Era TT Radio. And of course, on a Monday, this is where we are joined by GARTH Thomas. And when GARTH is here on a Monday, it's always a great morning. So, Mr. Thomas, a great morning to you.
And a great morning to you, Sir Charles, and to all our people out there in Nett Radio TT land. Fantastic place to be on a Monday morning, especially.
Any morning, actually.
Well, you understand I have a little bias, just a slight bias.
No problem with that. I can accept that. That's no problem.
Yeah. And the thing is, Sir Charles, very often you hear people talking about having an unbiased opinion. There is no such thing as an unbiased opinion. All of us have biases of one kind and another.
So true.
Yeah. So, Sir Charles, I'm delighted to have with us this morning on the chat none other than Uncle ERROL.
Just right.
I really was preparing a nice bio about how he was a drug addict and he recovered. And how he's a good friend and thing there. But he tell me just to introduce him as Uncle ERROL. But you know me.
He hadn't.
Yeah. And I see I realized just in case he thought I had missed the point, he armed himself with that can be a nephew. That had to be a grandchild.
A granddaughter.
A granddaughter. Yes. So you see, bring on the set this morning his granddaughter.
Because every cent counts.
Every cent might be heading that direction.
Oh, good. Well, yes, Sir Charles, very often I think some of our listeners might wonder if I have given up on the financial aspects of this program. And I just wanted to assure them that I haven't. It is just that I'm taking a much broader view because the title of our program, Every Cent Counts, goes beyond money. It goes to the recognition that every one of us in this Trinbago land has a part to play, and not just a part, Sir Charles, but an important part to play in moving the nation forward. I think regrettably, Sir Charles, a lot of people take a position where they give that responsibility up to the politicians. No, I don't know. I mean, that's a serious deficiency there in the system, Sir Charles.
It is.
I am telling you, if we're going to move forward, we can't just depend on the politicians. They have their part to play. Don't get me wrong. They have their part to play. But I think they need to read Shakespeare a little bit. Because, Shakespeare says that all the world is a stage, and this is echoed by Brother Valentino. All the world is a stage with many actors. There are many exits and entrances. And in his life, everyone has a part to play. All right? And perhaps more than one part. So every cent counts recognizes the everyman responsibility, that at all levels of our society, we all have a responsibility. And, it should be a pleasure to contribute to moving the society forward. And very often people say, well, God, what can I do? I ain't have no big work. I ain't have no big position. Nothing like that. How can I help move the country forward? Is it just that I must vote every 5 years? Well, boy, why you want to handcuff yourself like that? All right? Every day we have the opportunity to move this country forward. And so, Charles, I want to underline my attempt. Yes? When I encourage people to greet one another with greatness every day, have a great morning, have a great evening, have a great night, have a great day. Anytime, Sir Charles, a significant portion of our nation begins to greet one another with greatness, Sir Charles, we're moving forward. We're moving forward in a way that no politician can move us forward, because it is about consciousness of who we are, of our potential, and of the great future that lies ahead for this tiny island, this tiny twin republic, Trinbago. Yes, so I felt I needed to say that. And we all want to develop financially and in terms of wealth. And it's important to understand the power of accumulation to bring that about. But we cannot afford to pretend that we are existing in a vacuum. We are existing in a society. The society has pluses and minuses, although sometimes you feel that there are more minuses than pluses, but that is just a media phenomenon that we choose to focus more on the negatives than on the positives. But we can change that. And if we recognize that all of us have this responsibility, then we recognize that every cent counts. So, ERROL, welcome to the Nett Radio TT Every Cent Counts platform. A great welcome to you.
Thank you very much, Garth. It's great to be here. This is Jade, my youngest granddaughter, youngest of 4 grandchildren that I have. And we're happy to be here on Every Cent Counts. So, Charles, how are you doing this morning?
Actually, I'm doing pretty great, Errol. It's good to see you.
It's great to be here, and I'm saying howdy doody and good morning to all of your viewers and listeners wherever in the world they find themselves this morning.
We're good with that. Right. Well, Errol, for the last for a few months now, I have been on about the need for an agenda for the development of Trinbago land. Correct. This nation that we call Trinbago. Yes. And here we are in August. I think this is 11th of August, 2025. Mm-hmm. We are moving pell-mell toward the celebration of our 63rd anniversary of independence. I was listening to Dr. David Muhammad the other day, and he was making a distinction between emancipation and liberation. You heard that? I'm sure you heard that.
I'm familiar with his discourse on the issue.
Right. What do you think of that differentiation between emancipation and liberation?
Well, it is a defining difference. It is a very important difference. It's something we need to all recognize. On a cursory level, emancipation is something that is handed to you, but liberation is something that you take. And I feel very much as though I have to agree with Dr. Mohammed, because too many of us have not realized that we need to take our emancipation, which is to own it, as opposed to take our liberation, forgive me, as opposed to owning, as opposed to recognizing emancipation. So we recognize that, but that was given to us. What are we going to do with it and about it? How do we liberate ourselves? We didn't have to fight a war of liberation with guns and knives and bombs, but we are in a continuing battle for our liberation emotionally, economically, spiritually, and with respect to how we see ourselves as owners of our land. Still never forgetting the first people who are the true owners of the land who remain here. So that's my cursory take on it.
All right. I want to come back to that whole first people thing just now. But before we deal with that, and continuing with the whole concept of liberation vis-a-vis emancipation, I want to refer to a good Jamaican partner with the locks. You know,
Uncle
Brother
Bob.
Bob. Brother
Uncle
Bob.
Robert Nesta.
Robert Nesta Marley. The Honorable.
Yes.
All right, Robert Nesta Marley. And his famous song, Emancipate Yourself from Mental Slavery. Now, last week I had Nazir Sultan on the set, and we were talking about this whole bit about mindsets, mindfulness, and self-interest. That was the nature of our discourse last week. So I think that Marley recognized, and you could tell me whether you agree with me or not, Marley recognized that true liberation required the emancipation of the mind. What is your take on that?
I quite agree with that, Garth, but what made Marley great is not just the recognition, but the utterance, because he wants us all to come on board with it. You know, it is one thing to recognize a pathway to liberation and keep it to yourself. And yet another thing to recognize a pathway to liberation and to share it. Forgive me. Let me just silence this.
It's a good thing you're not a doctor, boy. You're always on call.
Yeah, we must share and get to the point of uttering things like this, because, you know, they say evil perpetuates when good men do nothing. And Marley could have had that thought and kept it to himself, but he understood his role and responsibility as a man seeking liberation to share this and to share that thought, just as you are doing with this program and Sir Charles with this portal, sharing, uttering so others could get on board.
Do you think that, I think that there is common agreement across the board. I think there are very few people who would not agree with Marley's utterance. But I'm wondering if people recognize how humongous a task he has articulated. In other words, how big a job do you think it is? I don't even think job is an adequate word.
No, well,
what kind of work? What kind of work?
Vocation. It's a vocation. It is something we must be involved in all the time. And you know, he chose the word emancipate, but based on the utterances of Dr. Muhammad, it is really liberate yourself from mental slavery, because it's something we are taking. Emancipate works because it's a familiar word and it's a sense of what we need to do. But the struggle that we find ourselves with or up against is to liberate ourselves from so many things that are mind-forged manacles that we allow to restrict us and constrict us every day. You know, when in fact we need to clear our minds and get our mental state right, because our first health is our mental health. And if we can't get it right mentally, believe you me, we won't get it right in any quarters that our mental affects.
Right, because mindset obviously influences behavior.
Correct.
All right, and the real critical element of that is that there is conscious behavior.
Mm-hmm.
That is when you sit down and you decide you're going to do X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as against anything else.
Right.
But then there is the unconscious aspect of our behavior.
The big part.
The
big part.
Well, I'm sure that being in the field that you are in the media, that you have had many occasions when you've had to look at yourself in a recording.
Yes.
All right. I am sure as well that when you look at yourself in a recording, that you see a lot of stuff that you did, that you were not conscious of doing.
Very true.
Time. Is that
very,
correct?
Very true.
All right. Now I point that out because people talk about unconscious behavior and stuff, and it is a generally accepted reality that there's a lot of unconscious behavior. Actually, the science points out that at least 90% of the actions that we take in a given day springs from an unconscious source. All right?
I accept that
is
fully.
Significant. Huh?
I fully accept that.
All right. So I think that underlines the recognition that the battle is primarily at an unconscious level is critical to the implementation of the advice. Isn't that right? But I do not think that most people recognize that. All right? And it means that if 90% of your thoughts, because that's what it says, that 90% of your thoughts in a given day are things that you are not conscious about. All right? Your thoughts and actions, things you are not conscious about. Then if you want to change your behavior significantly, then obviously you have to treat with that reality. And you have to find a way of renewing your mind. All right? Which is another way of saying emancipate yourself from old mindsets. You see, because Marley's word is mental slavery. I like to say emancipate yourself or liberate yourself from the old mindsets that drive your behavior. Because I don't know about you, Errol, Uncle Errol, but very often I find myself doing stuff that I know I really shouldn't be doing. It ain't like killing somebody or anything like that. It may be little habits that I have grown accustomed to doing, which are not really productive habits, And I always ask myself, why do I keep doing what I know is not productive? Why? What is driving that? And the only answers that I have been able to come up with is that deep down in my subconscious, there are habits of thought, because I think that is what an attitude is, a habit of thought. There are habits of thought that cause me to behave in a way which, even though I know it is not productive, and I'm using the word productive advisedly. I can describe it in harsher terms. Right? Even though I know it is not productive, I still engage that behavior. And I suspect, Sir Charles, that at the root of this whole issue of our national development, because you see, I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that what we are really asking, what I really hope to achieve via these broadcasts, these podcasts, these whatever you want to call them, I hope to provoke a high level of national consciousness around the need for us to be constantly, continually, and continuously pushing an agenda for national development. What do you think about that?
That what you're talking about is rehabilitation.
Okay.
That rehabilitation. Think of a limb that get what do you say? Like I had a shoulder injury. It was dislocated. It needs rehabilitation for it to work well. Not just to work as it worked before, but it can even work better with the correct rehabilitation. And I'm a product of rehabilitation as a recovering drug addict. So when you talk about behaviors and habits, I know exactly what you're talking about because I was involved in behaviors and habits that robbed me of every single thing I had, including my sense of myself, which is the rehabilitation we all need more than anything else if we want to grow this nation. We have to develop a sense of ourselves. So I lost a sense of myself, therefore a sense of my value. And I ended up doing things that, like if I have a drinking glass that I value, I wouldn't when I'm finished drinking just throw it. It go break, it go mash up. But I value the drinking glass. So I would take good care of it. I would wash it. I would put it to drain so I could get to use it again. But I didn't have a sense of value of myself. And I thank God today that Ali and Fabian saw value in me, my then wife, that I didn't see in myself. And which is why she persevered and tried over and over again to get me to try and see that value and to enter into rehabilitation. And what we're talking about is something that I often say that Form 4 in secondary school should have a lot of the components that rehabilitation has, pointing people at themselves and being bold enough to see, well, this is a shortcoming I have and this is a shortcoming I have, but also being able to accept that I can give myself permission to evolve. I can move past this, and I feel so much as though this is where we found ourselves as a nation, that we see our shortcomings, but through social media and even traditional media in some instances, we beat those shortcomings like a road match. We we disregard the law and order. We don't maintain nothing. We don't clean the place. We people who, we keep beating that road march of our deficiencies and not seeming to embrace the need to give ourselves permission to evolve. Right now, case in point, we just came out of a general election. Some people felt as though they win. Some people felt as though they lose. But we all need to get behind the government that is leading the ship, as we had needed to be behind the government that was in place before, because the election is over. And if we don't get past that, we would not be empowering ourselves to evolve.
You see, now you tempt me to go down a road that I wasn't planning to go down. Why is it, but it's germane to our discussion.
Yes.
Why is it that there is this perception that the party that wins the election is the government?
Thank you.
Is that a correct perception?
Well, they are now the ones tasked to govern, because the ones with the ultimate power are the ones who use their fingers and place them there. The parliament, our highest lawmaking land, is not made up of one side. It's 41 people. So they are all responsible for steering the ship. It's not one side of the house that governs, because we have 41 elected members in that house, and they must all ensure that this ship of state sails smoothly as possible.
Well, in spite of rough weather,
In spite of rough weather
in spite of rough
and
weather
tsunamis.
and tsunamis, you know. On another platform, ERROL, we will talk, and I think it is something maybe Sir Charles, you need to take a note of it, is the need for the recognition that the opposition, whoever they may be, whatever party they may be,
Or parties.
is a vital part of the government.
Indeed.
And that the role of the opposition is not just to oppose, because I think that is one of the things that is crippling us as a nation. That whoever is in the opposition, they feel their work is to oppose. And immediately that robs the nation of a significant segment of the political component. Yeah? Because it's the government. You have been voted in, whether you're in the majority or in your minority, you have been given a responsibility by
to represent.
To represent
the House of Representatives.
Right. And to represent, not to represent a party, but to represent the nation.
Thank you.
And I don't know, but that is
conversation. Earlier on, GARTH, you spoke about what can I do?
And that was my question.
More germane, I think, than anything else, even to the name of this program, Every Cent Counts. Because when we look around and see what are the things affecting us negatively as a people, one of the main things is our food import bill. But everybody is not saying, I am going to grow something that I will consume. Not grow for export, not grow for sale. I will grow my own seasoning. I will grow cassava. I will put a mango tree in my yard. I see more and more people putting concrete in their yard. You know? And
you never see concrete grow yet.
It is not incumbent on the government to reduce our food import bill, because that food import bill is satisfying a need. If we reduce the need, we reduce the food import bill. And it is very, very critical for us right now, in light of every cent counting in this country, to reduce our food import bill. We spend too much money bringing food into the country. And the only way to reduce it is for everybody to grow something.
Yeah. And that is a specific activity that everyone can engage.
Yeah. Even if your yard is concrete, you can put pots and grow something. Grow 2 lettuce, grow a pak choy, grow something. Everybody can be involved.
Cut some PVC and make some planters.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. But I want to come back to the mindset.
Yes.
ERROL. What can we do? What are the things we can do to help people change the way they habitually look at our country?
There's only one way.
Okay.
To change my mindset. That's it. It's like this child here. I can tell her till the cows come home about how she should behave, but she will only behave how she sees me behaving. That's the only way she'll behave. She will behave how she sees her parents behaving, how she sees her grandparents behaving. She will be inquisitive. She'll want to get into this, and if she can't get in, she'll make a fuss. But we have to behave in a way so to be the change we want to see. And that's the way. And it is very important that it happens in the leadership of the country, that people start behaving in the way that we want the country to behave, so that we could see the change. That's how we change the mindset. by demonstrating it more than talking it. We are to talk it, but we've got to demonstrate it, else we're not going anywhere.
I love that point. And you know, Errol, you're on set with your granddaughter. Now, I don't believe in chance. All right? I never buy a lottery in my life. All right? People buy and give me. People who, you know, I help out and thing, and they say, well, boy, God, I have no money to give you, but I'll buy a lottery for you. Right? That's the only way that I come with a lottery. You know why, Errol? Because I do not believe in chance. One of the things that I have recognized is that a pair of dice, okay, which is perhaps the strongest symbol of chance that you can find. You know that to make a pair of dice, so much design and meticulous engineering is required because that dice must be unpredictable, yes, in its rolling. So I'm showing now that design is more powerful than chance.
Indeed.
Because it is design that produces chance. You can't have a dice without design.
Exactly.
Yes?
And it can be designed to eliminate chance.
Yes, it can be designed that way as well. I call a loaded one. Now, you know, that is so significant. Boy, I would love to explore that. What we loading the dice with. But I'm saying that here you are on set with your granddaughter. And perhaps the message here that unconsciously you are projecting, Errol, is that the hope, as Eric Williams recognized, that the hope of the nation lies right there in that granddaughter of yours. Because you see, she is at a stage where you can shape the way that she thinks. You see, people like me and you, we cannot set in ways. It's not that it is impossible.
No, not at all.
It is difficult. It's a great challenge.
Behavior is easily the hardest thing to change, but it's not impossible.
It's not impossible. But you recognize in your previous in some of the stuff you were saying before that this is the stage at which you really need to make the inputs, all right, to change the consciousness, all right. And you were talking about the message. You know, I keep thinking that a picture paints 1,000 words. Yes. And I'm going to stand up now so that, you know, all our listeners or viewers can see. I did this last week. I'm doing it again. I might do it every week. We're talking about value, search as an Errol. All right. Look at the value there. What does it say?
I am 110% priceless. And so are you.
So are you. Sir Charles, Errol, I believe this is my attempt to help change the consciousness, because you quite rightly said that in our schools, and you see the education system comes into sharp focus. In our schools, and you talked about is standard 4? Is standard 4 or Form 4 you're talking about?
Form 4.
Form 4. All right. In Form 4, we must be able to identify, there must be an emphasis on patriotic duty. All right. And not just duty, but what informs duty. Patriotic, I would say, not just duty, but consciousness. All right. What do you think we can do? You know, when I begin to talk about that, I immediately think, Errol, about Sesame Street.
Right.
Do you think that we can learn anything from Sesame Street that we can apply to this particular emphasis that is a missing ingredient in our system, our education system now? How can we use stuff like Sesame Street, maybe develop our own stuff with our own national emphases and so on.
Yes,
For
absolutely.
instance, Sunday I was on Aripita Avenue by Source Doubles. And it struck me that doubles might be a point for integrating the society, because the society is split apart. We have who is UNC, who is PNM,
Who old, who young,
yes, and all of this thing.
African,
Who is
Indian,
1% and who is 99%, and
who
all of
live in
these
south,
things.
who live in north.
Yeah. But Errol, as I stood up there in the line, okay, and I have never been in a line for doubles where people get on bad.
No.
All right, people is falling in line, and actually, Source had 2 lines. Well, Sunday they had 3 lines. They had 2 lines for people who come to just buy 1 doubles and eat it there, and they had 1 line for if you want to buy 4 and 10, and that is happening.
Take
But
away.
what I observed, Errol, Benz pull up, BMW pull up, Porsche pull up, Audi pull up. In that line for doubles, you had
Pedestrian pull up. Pedestrian pull up.
Pedestrian pull up. All right. You had the whole cross section of the society, and it made me wonder whether doubles in particular and culture in general is something that we may need to be looking at in terms of changing this mindset, emancipating ourselves, liberating ourselves from mental slavery. What do you think?
I absolutely agree that, because at the end of the day, what you want to change is our culture. So culture must possess the answers for that transformation, because it's a cultural thing we're talking about. The culture of the people is what we're talking about changing. When we talk about the new mindset, for a sense of this is our home, for a sense of doing my part, that is a cultural thing. Because right now, people would argue or say that the culture is we don't take care of our place. The culture is that we don't know nothing about our history, and culture possesses that thing to pry open the space to start fitting the new things into it. We do not know enough about our history, not only as the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, but our history pre-Columbus and our history pre the enslavement of African people and our history pre-indentureship, because our history did not start when we arrived on these shores.
Our first people history.
Indeed.
Our first people history, yes?
Yeah, who are these people and where are they now? Where are they now?
Yeah,
how have they been treated?
Yeah. A lot of Trinis don't know about our first people. All right? A lot of people really don't know much about our first people. And I don't know to what extent history of our first people is a part of the curriculum in our education system. But coming back to my doubles
analogy.
What it is about a doubles that have us behaving so good? All right, is the pepper? Is the slide? Is it the slide, the medium, or the hot pepper,
or the roast pepper,
or is it the cucumber, or is it the sauce,
the sweet
or
sauce,
is it the chana? You see, all of the things. I find the mix that a doubles is that is a doubles. Don't know what is the correct English there, Errol. The mix that doubles is, or the mix that is doubles. To what extent does that contribute to what we see, how we behave around doubles, which in my thinking, how we behave around doubles is so powerful, because one of the things I've seen, Errol, there when I go in that line is like they normally have a posse of women that's come down there in the bikini and bath suits and three-quarter the body out and thing. Like if they just come from a fet, like they come from a bikini fet and stuff.
With their own doubles exposed.
With all the doubles.
All the doubles exposed.
All the doubles exposed. All right? But they are part and parcel of the mix.
Yes.
You know, nobody say, why all you don't go and put on some clothes before you come in this line. All right? They are accepted. They are accepted
as they are.
As they are. Are we good boy? Are we touching some very powerful nerves relative to this whole thing about the nation moving forward here, Errol?
We indeed are. We indeed are. We certainly are, GARTH.
All right. Do you think that we need to have a kind of I hate to say a local edition of, but something akin to Sesame Street?
Well, yes,
because
I think so. The thing is, Sesame Street was laser focused, and it targeted a certain age group. And it's an age group where repetition helps with learning.
Right.
So repetition is an important thing. Familiarity is an important thing because it wasn't designed for us in the Caribbean.
No, it wasn't.
Though it had its effect, it was designed for certain places in the United States. But we could look around and we could look at the communities we want to impact and develop something on the same model, which is something that involves repetition, something that involves a familiar environment, something that involves numeracy, something that involves spelling and phonics, you know, and it is all on the background of culture, of a community. So you have the shopkeeper, you have the teacher, you have the grouch, you have the animals, you have the big bird, you have all of the elements of a community. So it's like a microcosm.
Right.
But this thing is not our way of life. So we need one with our way of life. Now I will tell you, school is a Sesame Street, you know. When we go to school at any level, we have a microcosm, we have repetition, we have respect that they refer to as tolerance in our watchwords, but it is respect and it is appreciation for each other. But we haven't recognized it for what it is and presented it to ourselves as this is who we are and let's find out more about ourselves. Because through Sesame Street, we know so much about the neighborhood, so much about the words that is familiar to them that start with the different letters. We get to find out so much about the culture of the shopkeeper there. We get to find out so much about the count, because we don't have counts in Trinidad, but we understand the count and who he is. We get to find out about so many different things because that's the backdrop of the experience.
Yes.
But so we need to place the experience on our own backdrop.
So you feel in creating that backdrop that we should look for common denominators like doubles and the lineup for doubles.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, we have an institution here in Trinidad and Tobago that is significantly undervalued. You know, it is an institution that we participate in all the time. Nearly all Trinis participate in it. You know what I'm talking about?
Tell me.
A lime.
Thank you.
A lime. The liming to me is an awesomely powerful mechanism for integration.
Yes.
Because a lime reflects the society again.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And perhaps, you see, Errol, you know, we recognize this and we're talking about it here now. but to a very limited audience. And I am just thinking that if we created a vehicle similar to Sesame Street, which, you know, one of the things that I marvel about Sesame Street is, quite as you quite rightly said, it was designed for a particular audience. Yes, it was designed really as an educational tool for the young people, for young people. But you know, well, Sesame Street had bigger following among the adults than among the children.
Of course. Again, because of its familiarity and the fun that was loaded into it, you know, and the characters therein. But if we paint a similar backdrop, we have to have a CPEP gang, we have to have a lime. You know what is something that is very unifying and develops strategy and all kind of things? We have a game called All Fours, where we team up and gang up and use strategy and silence and signals to get a victory. You know? And
I like it. I love it.
Gang celebrates, you know? And these are elements of things that can make us successful in developing our new mindset. If we recognize the value, you know, not just participate in it, but have it presented to us in a particular way. So we recognize that, hey, this have a value for that. You know, we think Sesame Street has a value for children to learn to read and spell, and it does. But there are other things presented in it. Oi! You're
protesting, boy.
Look, God watching. Look, the child watching.
Hi, Jade. Hi, Jade.
That's what you're doing. What?
Well, Errol, we have about 9 minutes remaining.
Right.
And I normally try to get some feedback from our audience.
Okay.
So Charles,
I'm going to mute my mic and continue to listen.
Okay.
Okay, so people, you can call us now. This is where you can get in on the show. We can take your calls at 281-1315. That's 281-1315. We are chatting with Garth Thomas here. It is every cent counts. So within the final few moments that we have, give us a call.
Yes, and we've thrown out the idea of creating a vehicle for communication similar to Sesame Street with local backdrops and content and characters and stuff, which we are all familiar with, but which would enable repetition of messages that reinforce our sense of value and our recognition of each other's sense of value. So if you have any little contribution on that, if you want to talk about your doubles experience, whether it equates with what we have outlined this morning, we would be happy to get some input, whether you're here in Trinidad or you're out in diaspora, because I know we have an audience out there in the diaspora. And I know when I start to talk about doubles on the program that our diaspora audience would begin to get a Carita banker. But that
I think we have a caller there, God. Mr. Otep, good morning.
Hi, gentlemen.
A great morning to you, Mr. Otep.
I know I'd like to be babysitting. Here now, but just on a few little points. The Marcus Garvey was the first person to make that statement.
Okay.
He did it in Canada in 1937. The exact quote from Marcus Garvey is, "We are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, because whilst others might free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind.
Excellent.
The only ruler, sovereign."
Thank you, Mr. Otep.
Right?
I love that.
But Marley, I suspect you know that Bob Marley took that. Bob Marley being a Rasta, Marcus Garvey was considered the main prophet in Rastafarism.
Right.
He's the man who was preaching black liberation, one of the most influential black leaders that people would like to forget or not deal with.
Yes.
But there are several points you made that is important that I'd like to develop. One is recapturing your history is significant, I think, for everybody. Because remember, it's not only African people who were misled about their past or were made to feel inferior to others. Everybody was being taught the same nonsense. And including those who have sense of superiority, including those who have caste mindset and all of this, everybody needs to liberate themselves from mental slavery. Everybody needs emancipation. Emancipating yourself from mental slavery is part of all human struggle, right? Everybody has to do it. People come to the table from different positions, but everybody has issues that they have to work through to get to that position. It's like taking out an onion. The more you work on yourself, the more you remove layers until hopefully one day you can engage yourself. History on its own will not do the liberation point of view. We wouldn't get it from history alone. You'll get it with the history and next is cultivated integrity. If people just do the history alone, what I notice from human beings is when they do the history alone often, they condemn a wrong, but then they come and replicate it. They do it to somebody else. Yes. Like with the Jews or what they're doing to Palestinians now, the Zionists and them. Right? Yeah. You have to cultivate integrity if you want to have that transformative experience. And that is what opens you up to a greater appreciation of our past and our present. So I'm just putting my thoughts on the table that if you want to do that journey, cultivated integrity is the key. You're not going to be able to transform without integrity. And history without integrity sometimes is not good. It doesn't be good enough. So I'll just leave it there for now and let you take another call.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Hotep. I love that. Cultivate integrity. I love that aspect. You see that word cultivate, Errol and Mr. Hotep? Cultivate. Powerful word, because, the thing about cultivation is it can't be one and done. Cultivation is about continuous nourishing activity, nurturing activity.
Cultivation has order and rules. Else you'll end up, you have to follow the rules and you have to follow the order. Else you'll end up with nothing.
Right. You have another caller there. Caller, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to say good contribution from you all and the last caller.
Yes.
I learned a lot, but I want to tell Errol, while stressing on Sesame Street, me, an old woman was brought up and learned from Sesame Street. It wasn't only for children, because a lot of old people, especially ignorant old people, learn, all the different values from Sesame Street, besides other places. But Sesame Street was a good learning tool for us, the elder community too.
Yeah.
I just want to tell Errol that we learned a lot, and I think he learned a lot too from Sesame Street. So it wasn't only for children. Yes. And thanks. It's good seeing you, Errol.
Thank you. And we still learn it from Sesame Street too. What's very powerful on Sesame Street for me, Garth?
Yeah.
Seeing soca and calypso reach there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes. That was useful. That was very, very. That speaks about the breadth of the perspective.
About the culture.
Yes.
Because Sesame Street originally was this very distant thing in a distant place. But then we see that our culture not only was good enough to be there, but it had the legs to get there. Come sing that boy song from Tobago, but we reached on Sesame Street. Super Blue music was on Sesame Street. Yeah.
All right. So, well, we are fast approaching the cutoff for our program. You have any more callers, Sir Charles?
I have but around the time we have, because we are almost at that point. So I have,
All right. Okay. But I hope that we touched a nerve this morning, and I hope most of all that people recognize that within our culture, there are elements for integration, there are elements for unity, all right, that we need to emphasize, that we need to recognize and promote, and begin to understand that we have all that we really need to become a highly integrated society, moving forward with a display of quality of relationships, quality of life that will make other nations jealous. I no longer engage the notion of our being the best nation in the world. I don't know. I think that has something in it which is not necessarily healthy. But we certainly need to become the best nation that we can be. And we need to promote the high quality of life that is available to us as Trinbagonians. We're just about the end of our program. My WhatsApp number is 680-3185. I want to thank ERROL and Jade for featuring on our broadcast, podcast, webinar, whatever you want to call it this morning. It was great having you all. And thank you so much, ERROL, for your inputs. Thanks
Just
for
right, one love.
And like I say, if you want to get on to me, WhatsApp me at 680-3185. WhatsApp me. Don't call. WhatsApp me.
All right, thank you very much, Garth. And of course, thanks very much, ERROL, for being inside this summer morning right here. It has been Every Cent Counts.